Hey guys, welcome back to Rifleman 2.0. Got a pretty good one for you today, the Colt Lawman Mk III and 357 Magnum. Stick around, check it out. But of course, before we get started, don't forget to check out our friends over there at Workaday Custom Gun Leather. Custom made to order, go ahead and check them out. Now the Colt Lawman is actually kind of one of Colt's forgotten revolvers. It's a service grade police and security revolver, and it was manufactured from 1969 to 1983. Kind of looks like the Trooper, doesn't it? Well, there's a reason for that, because this is actually the cheaper, I guess you could say, cousin of the Trooper, and it was designed specifically for that reason. So you'll notice a big difference between the Lawman and the Trooper is it does not have the ejector rod shroud right there. The finish isn't quite as nice. There's no adjustable sights on it. They're all fixed sights on there, and the Electroless stainless steel on there and the rubberized grips. So all in all, it's not a bad gun. It does have a very nice heavy barrel on this thing, and it's very sturdy, and she's pretty darn accurate too. Perfect if you're a beat cop or a security guard or who knows whatever. These were actually manufactured to compete with Smith & Wesson's K-frame revolvers as a more affordable option. Even though not many people know about these, they were pretty darn popular and very effective. So we're gonna take a couple shots with this thing and see just how good she actually is. So let's have a look at the gun itself and see what some of the qualities this thing is. Now, before we start looking at it, of course, it's not loaded because I don't want to get shot in the face while I'm showing this to you guys, right? Makes sense. But anyway, so as you just saw, it is a swing out 6-shot cylinder that you'd easily put back in there. And she is a double and a single action. Perfect for service use too, and especially given at the time, you know, these were fairly common, the double singles. Now the groove sights are very rudimentary. They're fixed groove sights, so the same thing with the front, no adjustable sights, very cheap to manufacture, right? Now one little weak point that I detected was the pretty skinny exposed ejection rod right there. I would imagine that could easily get damaged, but so far I haven't seen any issues with this thing. The trigger pull is very smooth on that double action, although it is a bit heavy. However, when you get into that single action, oh man, you can set it off with a feather. Fantastic. Now the Electroless stainless steel, I never even heard of that before until my buddy explained it to me. I guess that's pretty rare, so I got a lucky find here. And of course we got the rubber grips straight from Colt, which they're okay. I like the look of a nice wood grip, but hey, these are nice and comfortable too, and they're original, so I'm not going to fiddle with it. So like I mentioned before, this was made primarily for police and for security personnel, things like that. So at the time, the 70s and the 80s, the go-to cartridge was the 357 Magnum for those kinds of folks. So obviously with a 357 Magnum, you can also chamber a 38 Special in there. For you folks who are new to firearms, you can do that, and that's because the only difference between the two is obviously the more power in the Magnum, and also the Magnum is going to have a longer case length. Okay, so you'll be able to fit the 38 Special in there. They still have the same bullet diameter, and we're even going to be shooting the same weight today too, 158 grains. So we're going to see how they both perform in this gun in both double and single action, and kind of make our own conclusions from there. So this ought to be interesting. And here's the ammo we're going to be using. So first I'm going to have some Blazer 357 and 158 grains, and I'm going to have these MagTech 38 Special in 158 grains. All things being even, we're going to have the same bullet weight. Obviously there's going to be a massive power difference. Okay, the Magnum's going to be much more powerful than the Special. And right here, as you can see in my hand, the case length is definitely different there. Now, this is about the best ammo I could get for the occasion, thanks to our friends over the Donkey Party, we'll call them. Yeah, they're just making things great, aren't they? But anyway, these should pretty much prove the point that I'm trying to make here, and we're going to start off at 7 yards, 21 feet, and I'm going to bring it back a little bit at some distance, see how the groups open up, and then we're going to have some fun showing off some of the power differences between the two. Alright, so here we go at 7 yards, 21 feet, and I'm going to start off with the 38 Special, and I'm going to be doing it with the double action. Then I'm going to switch it up to the single action and see how well they do here. And then pasty everything up, and then I'm going to check it out with the 357, what kind of groups we're going to be looking at. And it's kind of funny to me doing this. This is actually the second time making this video. The first time was under some very bad weather conditions. Heavy winds, bad mud. Actually kind of damaged some of my equipment in the process, so 357 or the 38. Still having a few technical difficulties, but heck of a lot better day for it. So anyway, 6 shots, 38 special double action. Let's see how we do. All right, there's 6 shots. So the trigger is pretty heavy because you still got to actuate the hammer, and with you pulling it back and it being heavy, it's going to kind of move your sights around a little bit. So all in all though, at 7 yards, the accuracy is looking pretty good. So let's check it out real quick. And there you go, 7 yards with the double action. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's not bad. So let's see how well she does with the single action. Alrighty, so that's not bad with the double action. Obviously, like I said before, with that heavier trigger, it's gonna kind of move things around a little bit, but for service use, you know, I give it a thumbs up. If you gotta crank off 6 rounds real quick, look like it'll hit on target, so no problems there at 21 feet anyway. So now we're gonna go a little bit more deliberate with that single action, and I bet you it's gonna tighten up quite a bit. So let's have a look at it. And tighten up it did. So with the 38 special, it's actually kind of a pleasant shooter. I've shot it with lighter rounds before, and those did pretty darn good, but these little heavier ones, not bad. So looks like it tore out the old pasties there, but looks like everything was right where it should be there. And clearly it tore right through the pasties. So don't worry, for the 357 I'm going to post up a new target, but I mean, you get the idea. I mean, so with both the double action and the single action, she does pretty darn good at 21 feet. All right, now we're going to have at it with the 357 Magnum, and we're going to be doing with that double action. The 357 Magnum was obviously the go-to cartridge in the 70s and the 80s for police officers until everybody started transitioning over to 9mm or anybody who retained their 45 ACPs. But as far as wheel guns go, 357's king. So those 38s, even though they were a little bit heavier, and they actually matched the weight on these, they were kind of pleasant to shoot actually. I'd imagine I get some real easy follow-up shots on there. That single action trigger, that thing's, boy is that light. But anyway, we're gonna have it go with the 357 now. Considerably more power. You're gonna see it in the recoil itself, and you're gonna hear it in the boom. So we're gonna see how we do with accuracy at the double action. Cool. Recoil is definitely there. And there's your 6. That looks pretty good. Let's go check it out. Now taking it nice and slow with that 357, we're looking real pretty, aren't we? Very nice. I bet you should do a whole lot better with that single action. Now that was just downright pretty with the 357 in the double action to boot. So let's see how she does with that single action. Looking pretty good. Now we're relatively close distance, but for what it's meant for, being a police gun, and I do like these police guns, they're so well built. This the barrel on this thing is monstrous, super heavy. But given the distance between 3 feet to 21 feet is where you probably engage a bad guy at in a lethal force situation, according to FBI, I guess. Yeah, you ain't missing here. All right, let's give it a go with the single action. Cool. Beauty queen. Ha! Oh man. Yeah, I think she did pretty good. Look at this. You don't even got split hairs with this. Look how pretty that is. Yeah, it blew out the old pasties, but does it matter? He can clearly see what happened. So there was one that was originally over there, one went back over there, all the rest of them in that cluster. Very nice. Well, hot dog, didn't she perform pretty good there? So I'm gonna double it up. I'm gonna take it out to 14, 15 yards, which is essentially gonna be 45 feet, somewhere around there is 45, 50 feet, and do a little bit of longer range. So let's say if a copper has to take a shot across like a street or something like that, or whatever, see how effective this thing is. So at 21 feet, it is highly effective for aimed shots. And obviously I have no pressure on me right now. I'm standing here in the middle of a nice quiet field, the sun's shining and the birds are chirping and stuff like that. I'm not under a significant stress. There's no lights flashing and stuff like that. But fundamentally, as far as the gun goes and applying basic shooting technique, she performs just fine. This is a very, very suitable gun. So we're gonna see how well she does at a little bit further range, and we'll check out some other power aspects of it. All right, so here we are about 14, 15 yards, and we're gonna check this thing out. We're gonna basically do the same drill, 38 special and double and single action, 357 and double and single action, pretty much to show how much the group is gonna open up, if at all, at this range. Now, something interesting to think about is, because these were police guns, think about what they had to deal with as far as, you know, going lethal force option. So remember back to the Miami-Dade shootout with the FBI, some of the guys, they had Smith & Wessons, a lot of them had 357 revolvers, some of them had, I think only one or two of them actually had Beretta 9mm pistols, I'm not 100%. But Paul Harrell, if you guys are fans of him, he actually does an excellent presentation on this, so check him out. He goes way more in depth as far as that goes. But the point I'm trying to make is that entire firefight was well within this range, 14 yards give or take. Now you're going to have cars in there, and this is not a matter of penetration. These will 100% go through a car. You know, windows, the doors, the whole 9 yards. The power is just there. It'll do it. But just fighting with this, with 6 rounds against these guys with machine guns and all that stuff, and all the confusion and madness going on, plus you had to get your reloading technique. It's not, back then it wasn't as easy as just whipping out a magazine, slapping it in there. No, you had to dump your rounds out, you had to put the speed loader in there, and then I guess, I don't remember if it was myth or fact, if some of these guys, you know, they died with cartridges in their pockets as a result of poor training. But again, Paul Harrell does an excellent video on this. Check it out. I'll put the link in the description. But anyway, without further ado, here we are, 14 yards, 38 special, double action. The last one was a flyer, go figure. Oh man, but that's a pretty good looking group down there. Let's go check it out. Yeah, these 158s in 38 special, they're doing pretty good. A little bit slower than some of the lighter alternatives, but they're holding true. So I was aiming here, and they all grouped up nicely here, and that last one was a flyer. I knew that was happening, but not bad. Well, not too shabby, I say, with that double action. So that's looking pretty good. Again, let's be a little bit more deliberate with that single action and see how well we do. Yeah, 2 bona fide flyers that are my fault. It's just such a light trigger on that single action. All right, let's go check it out. And just as expected, she did just fine. Just fine indeed. Couple flyers, 100% my fault. That darn trigger is just so light, but I mean, they just cluster up like it's nothing. So 14 yards, that 38 does just fine. All right, looking pretty good there with the 38. So based on the performance we've seen from the 357s, I can only imagine it's gonna be just as good or better. Anyway, double action. Looks like some of the accuracy suffered there. Huh, that's kind of weird. Let's have a look at it. Well, to be honest, that kind of surprised me to see it open up like that, but you know what? I'm gonna pin a vote that it's shooter error due to the heavier trigger pull on there. So we'll chalk it up to that. So we're gonna see the real test is gonna be at that single action, and I'll bet that it's gonna be a whole lot better than that, because that doesn't really seem like it makes much sense. I mean, they hold together in patterns of 2, but for it being opened up like that, I'm gonna say that was probably me just fighting with that trigger. All right, I'm willing to bet that we'll do a whole lot better shooting single action. That little bit heavier trigger is kind of a bear. You got to actuate the entire double action system there, so I mean, it is what it is. On nearly every single double action revolver, you know, the trigger's always heavier, it's a pain in the butt. I bet you it will do a whole lot better. So it's kind of funny, the barrel sure does heat up. It's a very thick barrel, so it holds true. The 357 is definitely heated up. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yep, that's the story right there. I was fighting with the double action, because that group down there is way different than what we just saw. Come check it out. And just expected, it performed a whole lot better. I mean, that group's a whole lot tidier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that thing, it shoots just fine. So there we have it, 2 different loads, the 38 Special and the 357 Magnum, with the equal bullet weight of 158 grains at 7 yards and 14 yards. 2 very practical ranges for this police gun's use. Is that the end all be all on the accuracy of this thing? Absolutely not. I'm shooting from the standing. There's so many different variables. There's obviously the human variable that goes into it. And if I was rested, yeah, I'm gonna be 10 times more accurate. You guys harp on this all the time. I'm a practical shooter. I like to show you guys how these things practically shoot, how an everyday Joe goes out and shoots his stuff. Not everybody shoots from a bench rest. If you do that, that's fine, great. You know, and eventually I'm gonna do some bench rest videos to show, you know, a little bit more accuracy that some of you guys are asking for. I get it. But as far as pretty much just showcasing the gun, that's what we're looking at. And it's looking pretty darn good. Nothing's loosened up, nothing's cracked, no problems, no jams, no nothing. So it's a very effective gun. Now, one other thing I want to touch on is what is the actual practical difference in the power that we're looking at between the 38 Special and the 357. Now, you can see the noticeable recoil in the video, clearly, okay? So is that going to affect the follow-up shot? The 38 is probably going to be a faster follow-up shot. You're not blowing back with the recoil, the noise, the concussion, all that stuff. Now, obviously, the 357 is considerably more powerful, but to best illustrate that, I have 2 different methods that we're going to do. So what I want to do is I have these 2 paint cans that are full of water and I guess some paint or whatever, and it's going to simulate the difference between the hydrostatic shock that you would expect between the 38 and the 357, and then I'm going to bring out 3 2x4s that are going to be lashed together, and we're going to look at a hard penetration test to kind of show the difference between the 2. This gun handles both of them fantastically. Both are very good service rounds. 38 Special have been around way longer than the 357 has, but both are still very suitable, and people still carry these today. Now, most people are carrying pistols and stuff like that, 9mm, 45, 40, things like that, but in the 70s and 80s, when this was actually a very popular carry gun for law enforcement and security, those were the go-tos. Okay, nobody was carrying a big 44 Magnum like Dirty Harry. Okay, that's Hollywood. 357, that was the Magnum round that people were carrying, and it was very effective, as I'm about to show you. All right, now for the fun stuff. So let's check out the hydrostatic shock that we're going to see coming out of the paint cans there. So the first shot on the left-hand side is going to be that 38 Special. The second shot on the right-hand side is going to be a 357 Magnum. Now you got to really love how versatile this revolver is. It's chambered for the 357 Magnum, but it works beautifully with both of them. So I'm probably going to shoot it from about 10 yards just so I don't get soaking wet, but yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And here's our test models. 2 regular paint cans filled up with, I guess, some leftover paint and rainwater up to the same level. On the left-hand side is going to be the 38 Special. Right-hand side is going to be that 357 Magnum. Okay, that's kind of gruesome looking with the red paint. But I mean, I aimed a little bit lower, as you can see down here, and you can still see the 38s, just it doesn't have the same power that that 357's got. So what I'm going to do is a hard penetration test on this one, okay, and I'm going to be shooting the 2x4s each twice, on the left side with the 38 twice, and on the right hand side twice with the 357, and we'll check out the penetration between these three 2x4s, total of 6 inches of wood. These 357s, they hit pretty solid, so let's take that lashing off of there. Alright, so boom, boom, yeah, right through it like butter. Ah, maybe not. Definitely got 2 impacts here. Huh. Wonder if everything just kind of shattered apart. Okay, and there's the good solid hit that I wanted. Again, the other one skimmed at the bottom, so whatever. I got a good center mass one. So, full penetration. Full penetration. Oh! There's your 38, right there wedged. So it'll go through 4 inches of wood, and it'll get lodged right there. So you're good for 4 inches of solid pine. Now those 357s, those are just, they're shattered in there somewhere. I don't know what happened to those, but that's kind of funny to me. Alright guys, well that's that. It is a darn fine revolver. Yep, Colt does it again, just like they always do. That's why I love Colt so much. They always have the best quality. I know there's Smith & Wesson fans out there. Okay, I'm a Colt guy. So it did very well. Yes, some of my tests are silly, but they're fun to do, and they kind of illustrate the point as long as I hit the target, right? The accuracy, that showed out pretty good, practical accuracy. I'm not bench shooting, so it's not going to show total accuracy. But as far as a guy standing out here doing 7 and 14 yard shooting offhand, you know, in calm, uninterrupted sequences, you know, you kind of get an idea of what you're going to be getting out of this thing. The quality's there. It's a tough, tough gun. It's got a little bit of heft to it, nice heavy barrel on there. This thing is a solid gun, okay? It'll come out of the holster, it'll do the job just fine, and no wonder it was so popular with law enforcement and security agencies. It's fun. If you could find one of these darn things, and they're kind of hard to find, if you could find one, get it. Seriously, it's great. Shooting between the 38, 357, you know, choose your poison, okay? If you just love magnums, hey, shoot away. If you want something a little bit softer shooting, you know, like a fun range session or something like that, or you just don't like heavy recoil, go with the 38s. You can do both with it. It's a versatile revolver. It's fantastic. So I had a lot of fun with this, guys, clearly. Hope you guys did too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your buddies. Holler out in the comments. Tell me what you think. And until next time.